My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of The Conjuring Last Rites. And look, I am a huge fan of this franchise. Like, the first two Conjuring movies are two of my favorite movies ever. I also love Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, The Nun 2. I even like The Nun. This franchise is my shit. So when I heard this was going to be the final film, I honestly got a little bummed out. I would have liked a Crooked Man movie. I would have liked a third Nun movie. I would have liked a Fairyman movie. I would have liked another Annabelle. These movies, I would have been okay if they just kept going on forever. But I was still excited to have one last movie with the Warrens, and I would have preferred it to be directed by James Wan, but Michael Chavez has grown on me, so I was still expecting to love this one, and it's a bit of a letdown. Like, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's a mixed bag. But let's begin by talking about the cast. And Vera Farmiga does a really good job. There is one scene especially where she really stood out, and she just brings so much to this character, and her chemistry with Patrick Wilson is just top notch. And Patrick Wilson also does a really good job. I do wish they had a bit more to do, but still really good. Mia Tomlinson as Jodie does a really good job as well. She brought plenty of personality to her character, and she was always convincing. And Ben Hardy does a good job. I like how sincere his character comes across. He just felt like a real person. So, the cast, very good. And the first half of this movie is great. Like, I legitimately found it emotional at points. And, I just really care for these characters. I really do. I like how this movie is focusing on changing times and how people just don't care about this stuff like they used to. I like how it's focusing on Ed's own mortality and how the Warrens are getting older. I love how it's focusing on their relationship with their daughter as she gets older as well. Just lots of great aspects to the first half of the movie. There's also some really scary moments. There's one scene involving a TV that just gave me chills. Like, it just goes on and on and on, but it kept building tension so perfectly, and the hairs on my legs were just... it definitely got to me. There's also a really creepy scene in a basement that kind of reminded me of a visual from The Nun 2, but still effective here. And there's one scene in a dress store that was really creative. So there's definitely lots to love about the first half of this movie. I truly thought I was going to love this movie, but it does fall apart in the second half. There's just too much going on, and all of it felt underdeveloped. Like, you've got everything going on with Judy and her boyfriend, and then the Warrens and Judy, and then this family, and then, I don't know, it just felt like this movie needed a rewrite, and it needed to focus up and tighten up, because this movie is definitely like 25 minutes too long. Yeah, lots could have been trimmed out, and I just felt like the second half wasn't as scary as the first half. Like, it started to feel really tame, and I love how The Nun 2 has the gold, how crazy it gets. I love how Annabelle Comes Home has all these different spooky factors, and this one just kind of had generic goals. You know, like, if this is going to be the final Conjuring movie, why not spice it up a bit? It just felt too tame, and I would have liked it to get crazier. I also thought the climax to this movie was just abysmal. Like, it was a mess. I didn't know what was going on. There was this stupid visual regarding a meal, and it lost me. Like, there came a point where I was just ready for this movie to wrap up, and it's a kind of a shitty note to go off on. Also, like, okay, one thing I love about the first two Conjuring movies is how the families felt developed. You know, you cared about them. They had personality. And here, it feels like all that stuff got cut out. Like, there was one scene where something happens to this one girl, and the next time we see the family, they're like, this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening, and I felt like there was a missing 20 minutes that just wasn't in the movie. And I just simply didn't care for these characters. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the first two movies did a better job of balancing the Warrens and the family, and here it felt very scatterbrained. I also thought the ghost story was pretty bad. Sorry, I'm going to keep bringing up the first two movies, but the story with Bathsheba and her son and the curse she places upon that land is memorable. The Conjuring 2, how Valak uses Bill Rankins to haunt this house, memorable. The ghost here, there's not really an interesting story. It just felt so generic. And once again, if this is the last movie, you know, go for it. You know, like, I would be a lot more forgiving of certain issues here if this was the first movie in the franchise. But at the last, come on, you have to deliver a bit more. I also thought, and I don't want to give anything away here, but there's a bit too much focus on Annabelle. I get it. She's an icon. She's terrifying. And I get that she represents Judy's trauma, but every time the movie focused on Annabelle here, it just felt like blatant fan service. It felt so out of place, and I didn't really care for that. Yeah, that was a very baffling decision. The Judy plot, well, she wants to help this family and the parents are skeptical. I feel like that wasn't well written. Gotta be honest. And yeah, the second half of this movie just becomes a mess, and it feels dragged out, and it feels disappointing. And it's a shame too, because after the abysmal climax, the movie has a very nice epilogue. The final 5 minutes of this movie is fan service in the best way possible, and I thought it was really emotional and touching and just beautifully done. I really did. But like, I was checked out at that climax, so to get me back on board for the final 5 minutes, that was a big ask. So, this movie frustrates me because fuck, I really wanted to love it. I really did. I love these characters. I love this franchise. And there's moments where they really shine. I love how much focus there is on the characters here. And it can be scary, and there's some really great stuff here, but the second half is a mess. The big ghost plot just ends up being generic, and the second half lacks any big scares. And I don't know, I feel like this movie needed another rewrite. The structure and pacing were definitely off. Would I buy this movie? Yes. Would I watch it again? Yes. But it would never be my go-to pick. So I'm kind of 5.56. Still satisfying enough of an end, so I'll give The Conjuring Last Rites a 6 out of 10. A perfectly fine movie, but this franchise is capable of more, and for the final film, I really wanted them to end up on top, but it is what it is. It's still worth watching, just temper your expectations. But The Conjuring Last Rites, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin, out.